If your cold emails aren't getting replies, the problem isn't the product, it's your approach. I've seen it many times. Even a weak product can still get high open and reply rates as long as the email is written the right way. Sure, the conversions might suffer, but the replies will still come. At P.O.P.C.O.R.N, we tested thousands of different subject lines, copy, and frameworks until we found the one formula that consistently delivered over 27% reply rates. I'm Kevin from P.O.P.C.O.R.N, and in this video, I'll show you the exact framework we used step by step so you can finally get the responses you've been waiting for. Let's dive in. Look, there are a million reasons why your cold emails aren't getting responses, and most people immediately think that copywriting is their biggest culprit. But here's the thing, after analyzing thousands of cold email campaigns at P.O.P.C.O.R.N, we discovered that copywriting shouldn't be the first concern. In reality, there are two other fundamental reasons why you're getting no responses. So let's quickly go over what those are. So first, poor targeting and list quality. If you're sending emails to people who aren't decision makers, or worse, you're sending to invalid email addresses, your reply rates will tank no matter how good your copy is. And this is why having a reputable data provider is so crucial. So according to a top cold email expert, Eric Nowoslawski, who sends more than 4 million cold emails a month, he conducted a study comparing various email providers, and he found that P.O.P.C.O.R.N finds 20% more verified and valid emails than other providers. And we've also tested this ourselves, and we found reply rates jump from less than 2% using a generic data provider to over 20% just by switching to P.O.P.C.O.R.N. And the second mistake that destroys reply rates is improper technical setup. Most people skip the boring stuff like properly warming up your inboxes, setting up your domains, and ignoring sending limits. But what happens is, if you start sending 200 cold emails from one inbox from a new domain, your emails are going straight to spam. Even the best copy in the world won't get replies if no one sees it. This is where platforms built for cold emailing like Instantly AI and Smartly AI comes in. Both platforms can handle the proper technical setup for you, but you still need to respect the sending limits. And we recommend staying under 30 to 50 emails per inbox per domain. But we'll cover this more in a future video. So once those two issues are resolved, let's go over some common copywriting mistakes that's killing your reply rates. Most cold emails sound way too robotic, they're packed with unnecessary jargon, they're way too generic, or they only talk about their product or their solution. So let's look at a real example of what not to do. Here's an actual cold email that landed in my spam folder last week. From first glance, you're probably thinking, yeah, that's a pretty bad email. But in case you think this is a good email, let me tell you all the reasons why it's bad. So first of all, it opens with "Hi team," which tells me this is probably a mass email sent to anyone's email that they could find. And it's not directed to me specifically. Otherwise, they would have said, "Hi Kevin." Secondly, this person used fake pleasantries, things like, "I hope you're doing well," or "I hope this email finds you well." You don't need to include this because it's unnecessary. Plus, this person didn't care to address me by my first name. What makes me think that they actually care about how I'm doing? Because they probably don't. Next, as you can see, this whole paragraph is just a full-on product pitch like they're on Shark Tank or something. I'm not Kevin O'Leary, all right? You didn't even once talk about me or my problems or anything like that. You just went on a full-on pitch. This is the classic spray and pray tactic where you shoot your pitch to thousands of emails hoping that you get a 1% response rate. And this used to work like 10 years ago, but nowadays people are getting smarter, and this email landed in spam, so this is no longer an effective tactic. And I just wanted to point this out in their pitch. They mentioned they have an amazing network of 20,000 plus manually outreached and approved websites, when the irony is they didn't even manually write this email. So how can I take them seriously when they can't even take the time to write this email manually, or at least make it feel like it's written by a human? But I will give them credit though, because at the end, they used an interest call to action, which is something I'll touch upon later. A lot of cold emails, they'll either send a shady link to book a call or a link to their shady website or whatever. But this person actually wanted to gauge my interest instead of booking the call right away, which is something they would get points for. But then they messed it up by saying best regards and not signing off a name. Like, did a ghost send me this email or something? I don't know. I give this cold email a score of 1 out of 10, and it has a 0% chance of me responding. So now you know what a bad cold email looks like. Now let me show you a simple framework you can use to write a good cold email. This framework is called the P.O.P.C.O.R.N framework, and we have used this across all our outbound campaigns, and this has given us consistently over a 27% reply rate. So each letter represents a critical element that makes up a high converting cold email. So here's a template that we use for one of our hiring trigger emails. And depending on your cold email objectives, this template will be adjusted accordingly, but you can still apply the framework and just create your own template. I'll walk you through what each of these letters mean. So P stands for pattern interrupt. This is your subject line. It needs to immediately grab their attention. So while they're scrolling through their phone, checking their emails, you want something hyper specific and relevant to them that makes them stop and think, maybe I should open this. And this is a bonus tip I like to use, and that is to keep everything in your subject line lowercase letters. Because most marketing emails, they capitalize the first letter of each word. So keeping everything lowercase makes it feel like a human wrote this. And we also like to start with your, followed by a relevant stat or trigger event, like your quota, your onboarding. O stands for observation. You would start your email by referencing something specific you notice about them during your research. And this makes it seem like you actually looked into their company, not just sending the same generic email you sent to everyone. This would also be related to the subject line. If your subject line is your funding, then your observation shouldn't be about your tech stack changes. P is for problem. This is where you would present a challenge that's directly related to your observation. You're connecting the dots between what you noticed and a potential pain point they might be experiencing. C stands for common struggle. This is where you normalize the pain point by showing this is something you deal with on a daily basis, and this is something you often see with people in their position. And this also removes any shame or embarrassment they might feel about the problem, and it shows that, hey, you don't have to shy away from your problems. O is for opportunity. So you're showing what other companies or your clients are doing differently to solve this exact problem. This kind of creates that FOMO effect and shows them that there's a better way that maybe they haven't explored yet. R stands for results. Now you have to back up those statements with concrete social proof, like case studies, specific metrics, demo videos, and numbers here are crucial because they make your claims more believable, especially if you tie in some of their competitors who are your clients, and you can show that you've helped your competitors who are obviously in a similar industry, in a similar position as they were in. They're more likely to believe you and take you up on what you have to offer them. And N stands for next step. Use a soft call to action to prompt them for a response. And this is where you can experiment with different variations and you can compare which one works best for your industry and your niche. Now, let's put this into practice. Let's say you sell B2B sales training for companies that are actively expanding, and one of your trigger events is if the company hires more than 6 SDRs in the past quarter. Let's say Sarah at Questly is the decision maker you're trying to reach out to. Here's how this email would look. So subject line, your 12 new hires, all lowercase. Observation, hey Sarah, saw you just hired 12 new SDRs on LinkedIn. With that kind of growth, I imagine you're looking to scale the sales team quickly. Introducing the problem. The challenge with scaling sales teams is figuring out which SDRs are ramping fast and who's falling behind during their growth phase. Common struggle. You're not alone. Almost every sales leader I talk to feels their CRM gives them more stress than insight. Opportunity. Companies like Stripe and Gusto are using AI to spot red flags early and coach reps on the spot. Results. They cut ramp time by 22% in the first 90 days. Here's a quick demo we put together. Now, next step, would you be interested in learning more? So hopefully you can see how different this feels compared to the first example. Every sentence has a purpose. It's conversational and it focuses entirely on the prospect's situation. And here are also 5 best practices that makes this framework so effective. First, use an interest-based call to action. So instead of asking for the meeting right away, gauge how they feel about the topic. Would this be something you'd like to explore? This is more of a low commitment ask that feels so much easier to respond yes to than would you like to schedule a 30-minute demo? And we've actually A/B tested this ourselves, where we had one group with a meeting CTA and the other group with an interest CTA, and the interest CTA got 3 times more replies than the meeting CTA group. The second best practice is keep your entire email under 150 words and at a 3rd grade reading level. So once I have my email copy done, I go into hemingwayapp.com and I paste in that email copy. It will give me the word count, gives me the reading level, and it also highlights what part of my email is too hard to read so I can reword it to the reading level I want to achieve. Always give more than you ask for. Whether it's a case study, a resource, or a demo video, you're always offering something of value in your email, which completely changes the dynamic of the conversation. And this also applies to all your follow-ups in your sequence. If you don't get a reply back within a week, offer new context, new insights, or even a custom Loom audit, something they actually find useful. And at P.O.P.C.O.R.N, we'll actually give prospects a free month license on our platform on the second or third follow-up. So prospects would use our data, see better results on their campaigns, and by the time the trial ends, they already switched to us as their main data provider. And the key is to make your follow-ups so valuable that ignoring them feels like you're leaving money on the table. And the fourth best practice, if you're using AI to write your code emails, avoid em dashes. This is pretty much a dead giveaway that this whole email was written by AI. So you can still use AI to write your initial draft and maybe majority of your code email, but you still need to manually review it and give it that human touch to make it seem less AI generated. Otherwise, your prospects can smell an AI generated email from a mile away. And lastly, if you're going to send links, only send links to reputable sites with a high trust score, like Google native links. So if you're sending a link in the initial email, don't just send a link to your brand new website with a low trust score because it might trigger some spam filters. So keep it one link max, or if you want to play it safe, don't include any links at all until at least you get a positive reply. And there you have it. That's how you write better code emails that guarantee responses. Remember, the difference between emails that get ignored and the emails that get responded to comes down to being relevant, human, and focused on their world instead of yours. Implement one thing you learned from this video in your next campaign and watch your reply rates improve. And final reminder, even the perfect email won't convert if you have a bad email list. If you're looking for a top quality data provider without costing an arm and a leg, head over to Proscio.io and get started with a free account so you can get access to verified emails that actually convert. If this video helped you write better code emails, give this video a like, subscribe for more proven outreach strategies, and I'll see you in the next one.